ahead and share my screen. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint just really telling you what we found last year and what kind of our plans are moving forward this year. Then at the very end, I'm just going to really hop over to the website and show you which tab to go to find the most up-to-date information if you're not already getting emails from me. So here we go. Let me share my screen. You'll see your face for a second. I apologize. Okay. So obviously we know we're here talking about the Asian Giant Hornet. It has that lovely nickname of the murder hornet because it murders those honeybees. If you haven't heard either, sometimes they'll go by yak killer hornet or giant sparrow bee. Got that bright orange yellow head and that distinct striping on its abdomen. So where are the hornets being found? I have a blown up map here for you of the United States, right? And you can see all those orange and purple dots over near the beautiful state of Washington, right? Those are all places, those orange and purple dots are all submissions from the public where they think they saw a hornet and they've sent it in to us. And obviously it hasn't been hornet, but you see a nice little red dot up there. That is in Whatcom County, right there on the border. Okay, so that's where we are finding the Asian Giant Hornets, where they've been confirmed and where they've been found. Our process at the WSCA kind of is a trifold or a twofold process, okay? Behind the scenes, right, we are trapping ourselves. In front of the scenes, we're asking people to trap and we're asking people to report any potential sightings. So this map here, if you go back and you see this one red dot, it's a zoom in of the northeast corner of this Whatcom County. So it's about 30-minute drive from here's the border of Canada to down here to where the bottom of our map is if you were to go to straight south. And this about the same going the width of the cross. Any white dot you see here is basically where we placed the trap and we trapped for the Asian Giant Hornets. The trap placement is based off of where the Asian Giant Hornets were detected last year in 2020 because these traps are from 2021. We placed a little over 900 traps last year, okay, which is awesome. However, it's not just us trapping. We also asked the public and cooperators to help us trap. Cooperators are different city parks, state entities, groups that are interested, involved in also helping trap for the Asian Giant Hornet. So you can see here that my previous map was just this little area up here, if you can see my cursor, and now it's expanded and to include some other counties around where the Asian Giant Hornet's been detected. So that way we're monitoring for any possible spread. And these people helped us hang and register 771 traps. Sometimes people do trap for Asian Giant Hornets and they don't always register them with us. But over and all, the state of Washington is really trying to keep their eyes peeled, their ears checked, and monitor for these hornets. All right. So at the very beginning, I told you this one little dot up here in Whatcom County. Well, our first sighting of last season was actually 2 counties south. It's in Snohomish County near Marysville. So it's about an hour and 20-minute drive south. And you can see the picture of the dead specimen here. A couple things were odd about this is it was a male found in the spring. Males really only come out of the nest from the fall. So that means this specimen, if it was from a nest, would have had to been on the ground from the fall, the winter, into the spring when it was found. And if you think from a dead bug's point of view and you're laying on the ground in the fall, something's going to eat you, the snow is going to get you. You're not going to be this well preserved going out into the open into the spring. Okay. A couple other things is it was able to be kind of tested, and some of the DNA sequencing suggested that it is most likely not related from those introductions that we have up here. Okay. So what we did following this is we did go ahead and we placed a lot of traps in those areas. We monitored them throughout the season. Again, I worked with the cities and the parks to trap in that area as well as the citizens, and no hornets were discovered there. So we're just going back up in that Whatcom County then, and here's what we found. Ben would have already showed you this nest because this was the first nest found in October 2020. It was found inside a hollow tree cavity. And he might have mentioned to you this was a little bit odd and peculiar because in its native range, they're typically ground nesters, okay? But we found this in the tree, we removed it. You can see the 6 combs there. It did, since we found it late in October, it had produced some queens and males, judging by the size of the cells, okay? However, we were able to remove this nest and hopefully keep most of the queens contained so they wouldn't be able to move forward. So last year in 2021, we found 3 nests, and I'm going to show you individual pictures of all the nests. This is a picture of the first nest found in September. You can see here they actually entered at the ground, and then they went up to make their nest in the base of this, again, dead alder snag. It was in total 9 combs. It only had the 1 founding queen inside of it, so she was not able to produce any offspring. We nipped this nest in the butt before anything was able to come out of it to potentially make nest next year. So that's a win-win. The second nest we found was much, much smaller. It actually only consisted of 4 combs. It had, again, no more queens that could move forth, and it was a little peculiar because it did have some males. However, if they were capable of mating, obviously had nothing to mate with. The last nest we found of the year was another large one. It was 10 combs wide. Again, inside of a tree snag or a dead tree cavity. Again, the only queen was found was the founding queen. So no offspring were able of going out of this nest as well. A couple other things that were kind of started in the works last year that I just am going to highlight and touch on a little bit for you is some of the other things going on behind the scenes that don't really make it in the news and media as much. So what we were able to do was scrape some of the nest pieces for frass, which is kind of like insect poop, right? From this, you can analyze its DNA to see what it's eating. What the hornets were eating. The other thing we were able to do is the last nest we found was about 20 feet up in the air. So it required us a little bit of planning to get a boom truck, to get a sawyer, to safely remove the tree, get everything down, and keep everyone safe. So while we were getting all of our logistics together, our entomologist Chris Looney took a very long net and stood outside of the nest as the hornets were leaving and entering for a few hours, trying to record the sounds and the vibrations of them coming, as you can see that little box up there, and netting some of the hornets as they were leaving. Some of the hornets that were entering were returning with these little things you see here, which are essentially food pellets, right? When they catch and mash up the insects they're eating, and they return to the nest, right, they feed these to the larvae, who then regurgitate it back for them to consume. A couple other things that some of them were leaving with was excavated nest pieces, where they were coming back with nests, with stuff to expand the nests, okay? So from that, right, we learned that they're eating lots of bald-faced hornets, they're eating paper wasps, things such as moths, butterflies, beetles, just the normal flying, stinging insects also that you would think they'd consume. And here is a picture of some of the things that we found. There was also some DNA that came back as essentially cow. The idea of this is there was potentially maybe a dead cow carcass where the hornet stopped on, snagged a little bit of meat. Or if you all know, if you've ever been sitting outside at a picnic, you may have had an insect land on your food, snag some of it, and fly back away. Okay, if my slide's gonna go forward. Okay, so here is here's kind of a map here where you can see the very first nest from Nanaimo over here on the top left in Canada. Okay, that nest, since it's been eradicated, they haven't had any more confirmed sightings. So with that being said, Canada will most likely move forward to proclaim them free of Asian giant hornets in the Nanaimo area this year. Okay. On the mainland side over by us, as you can see here, this one black star dictates where an Asian giant hornet was photographed. And then you can see this orange star here is as far east. So that kind of is the extent of our trapping grid, as you can see in this picture here. So in 2019, here's that one sighting here. Canada had their 2 in 2020. This is all they had. Last year, they had 1 confirmed sighting right smack dab here across the border. It actually was a hornet found deceased in a beetle trap. When beetle traps go up, they're pretty much checked about once a month unless beetles are found. So this trap was checked in October, following our nest removal from right here. So chances are, if this hornet was potentially from this nest and it was able to fly across the border and get stuck in the trap, but unfortunately the specimen was too degraded that DNA wasn't able to be pulled from it to exactly say if it was related or not. All the stars you see here are all the nests we found. They're pretty much all within, I would say, a 5-mile radius as a hornet would fly. Okay, they're all pretty close together. And as far as our sightings, they were all up there as well. You can see a couple more from 2019 and 2020 from this map. But last year we had 14 total detections. 4 of those were caught in traps that we placed as the WSDA. 5 of them were citizen reports, and the other ones were hornets that we netted and were able to net by the locations that people were reporting. Okay. So that's kind of it for you here. I'll go ahead and pause and answer some questions. And then before I do kind of wrap up with the update, I just want to show you where to go grab information off the website. But this top left picture here is a picture from the first nest we found this year. It's just really cool to look at, to see how the hornets are entering at the base of the tree. They're then entering and going up, compared to the nest on the right side where it was all the way up in the tree. Okay. Basically, the statistic here states that in their native range, literature says that only about 20% of them have been found in hollow trees, but every single nest that we found in the United States have been in snags of trees, and pretty much all of them a couple feet off of the ground, except for the first one of this year. So, do you happen to have any questions for me at this time? I'll go ahead and put this contact page back up for you, though.
We'll open this up for Q&A right now. Fred, I know you are just, ask her a good question.
Okay, I have a whole pile of questions, but I'm only going to ask a few. The sightings that are reported from citizens, how do we know they're identifying the right species?
So, can you see me? Okay. So citizens can report sightings 3 different ways. They can call us, they can shoot us an email, or they can report it online. We try to get them to send us a picture, okay? If we get a picture, we can pretty much always verify, yes, it's a hornet, no, it's not. Sometimes you get an insect that they've crushed and mumbled and fumbled a bunch of times. Usually you can still kind of tell, but more often than not, else was found or reported in the area.
That's what we're hoping for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks, Cece.
Cassie, I did have one question. Sorry, Ken. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It'll cost you $5. No, I'm just kidding. Right.
Yeah, this is Tracy. Hi, Cassie. Thanks for the presentation. I actually have 2 questions that are kind of related, and you may have said this, so I'm sorry if I missed this, but of the 4 total nests that you guys have found, what was kind of the square mileage that they were found within? And then the second kind of part question is, what's the range around a nest for them to kind of spread out?
You can still see my screen, right? Okay, so this is a map here of the nests, all the 4 nests we found, right? Which are the red diamonds.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a blank right now.
Yeah, Casey, we don't have anything on screen.
Well, that's lame. I thought I was sharing my screen the whole time. How about now? Can you see a screen now?
There you go.
There you go. I see.
There you go.
Okay. Man, I thought I had one up the whole time. Okay, so these 4 diamonds or stars are the nests. As a crow flies, within 5 miles of each other. So all pretty in one centralized location. Hornets, the workers, as they're feasting, right, they'll fly up to 8 kilometers from their nest to find food before they go home. So anytime we have a detection of a hornet, right, anytime you have one of these dots, we make sure we're trapping within at least that 8 kilometers, which is about 5 miles, okay? Unfortunately, there is no knowledge to how far queens can travel. It hasn't really been studied. It's not really in research. So I don't know after a queen overwinters, or after a queen mates, how far she'll fly, or after if she overwinters, if she'll wake up and how far she'll fly again. So that's one of the things that makes it kind of tricky in tracking the dispersal distance of the hornet.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie, this is John Ashland. I've got a question. It troubles me when I see things like this, because I say, the environment seems to favor these critters, and we typically don't have a good track record when it comes to invasive species. So I don't know, how concerned people are. I mean, it seems like you're doing a great job with this, but or is there concerns that this can actually, continue to spread like it has, and become, a pretty serious problem? Again, I've seen a lot of things about invasive species, and like I said, the stories are just very dismal on and being successful with containing invasive species. So if you could comment on that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we had the media sensation of the murder hornet, right, to kind of grab everyone and get everyone thinking. But one of the things that you probably don't see is the targeted outreach that I do up in Whatcom County. I mean, this summer I spent 10 days, 10 hours a day at the fair peddling the spiel about the Asian Giant Hornet, telling people to hang traps. I'm constantly working with the media, the newspapers up there. I've actually spent about 30 days in kids' classrooms up there, going around each class, showing them the hornets, talking and telling them about that. So I work with the master gardeners out there. I go to and attend fairs. I work with the home and garden shows. So I'm actually out there peddling the information pretty much nonstop, right? I'm on the city council meetings. I work with the Rotary clubs. So there's just a lot of targeted stuff that I do in that area that you're not going to see because, you're in East Coast. So with that being said, I think that as a department, as well as other funding sources into this, are taking this issue pretty seriously.
Excellent answer. I have a question. The Overwintering Queens, obviously they burrow down into the ground for protection to make it through the winter.
Yep, that's what the literature says. Also, if they're somewhere nice and sheltered, they would be capable of taking that too. If they find some nice spot in someone's garage or something like that, that would be a possibility too. Typically, they're going to cover themselves in something though.
So, is there any more questions? Go ahead with that. I think you said you have a closing statement though. Is that correct? Or a summary or something? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna bop this over really quick. So about each month, I send out an email to people's emails, giving them updates on what's going on in the hornet world. And I'm just gonna show you where you can go to find that. So the website is agr, like agriculture.wa.gov/hornets, and I'll pop it in there for you. But when you go to the webpage, there's a million things on it, but probably one of the coolest things to keep in touch is if you go over here, well, the data is going to show you like a map of where they are, but if you go to this news and media section, anytime we issue a press release or I send out a status update, it's going to be listed right here. So like the last one I sent out was on like February 22nd, January 1st. I try to send one out every day or every month. And if you don't get one, you can go here and read up on them and they'll tell you what the heck is going on in the hornet world in a nice little PDF. You'll get it to your email. And it just kind of says, this is what's going on. This is what we found. This is what we've been doing. Keeps you a little updated in case you're interested. That's kind of all I really wanted to show you. And you can sign up for those if you're not already getting them. I can show you how, or you can just shoot me an email.
Excellent.
Anytime we get an email, phone call, or submission, someone talks to them, follows up with the email, or reviews the online submission. So that's kind of how it's being checked. We check them.
Okay, has your bait changed? Are you still using orange juice, or what's your bait?
Yep, so we're still using the orange juice and the rice cooking wine as the main type of bait. We did use, I think Chris used upwards of 20 experimental lures last year. In the spring, we worked with the beekeepers in Whatcom County to do some experimental trapping with grape juice, calpis, which is like a fermented yogurt drink, and rice cooking wine. It didn't yield any queen hornets. And then citizen scientists were also allowed to use dark brown sugar and water last year. It's proven to be very useful in catching European hornets.
And is the configuration of the trap the same? Is it still plastic bottles?
It's still going to be that plastic bottle. Last year, we went to using a star-shaped pattern for the opening. This year, we're going to be reverting back to using that original H patterned opening. There also is some behind the scenes work going on right now where we are going to be sending a bunch of our traps overseas to their native range, hopefully for them to try out this spring, as obviously the hornet population is much more active over there. So if there is something that's going to be more selective towards the hornets, hopefully we have some research and stuff going into that.
Mm-hmm. And for the males that you found when they come out, are they mating with the queens from the same nest, or like bees, so they have to fly to another non-related nest?
They'll nest within themselves. So in the fall, right, is when the queens and the males typically disperse from the nest, because she doesn't make them before then. Typically she's not mature, or the colony is not mature. So the males had their one job is to leave the nest, do their thing, and then they decease. Then the queens after that will disperse to overwinter, and they typically do it very close to that nest.
So they will mate with the queen that created that male.
The queen that starts the nest will create the other queen offsprings as well as the male offsprings. They will leave the nest, mate very close from the nest, and then queens will fly off, males will die. The founding queen of that nest will also die.
Okay. And you also referred to one of the trees as a snag. Does that mean they're occupying dead trees as well as live trees?
So they all have been dead trees in a sense, like they've all been snags, right? The tree is still standing, but it's dead. It's a snag.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thanks, Ken.
Excellent. Good questions there. Who's next?
I have a couple of questions. So the first year, 2020, you found one nest.
Correct.
And then in 2021, did you find, I thought I read 3.
Correct.
3. And I was told, and I don't know, that's why we have you live so you can answer questions. I was told that you could genetically track it back to the original.
So it gets a little confusing in how you want to read it. Basically, because like the one queen produces all the offspring, you can test their DNA and see if they are related is a better word, right? And when they are related, it's saying yes, they're coming from the same introduction. So it would be the same, like the same original population that came over. They're all related to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So is that what you found, or did you find that, or
Yes.
test for that? Okay, because that's kind of important to know. There's not
all
another.
the hornets in Washington have been shown to be related to each other, related to the same introduction.
Okay.
Very good. I do have a question there. What is the prognosis, which means what do you think is going to happen this year, and do you feel it's under control?
Well, we've gotten really good at if we do find hornets, tracking them and locating the nest. So as long as there are hornets out there and we're finding them, I think we'll be doing pretty good, pretty well off. Unfortunately, you never know how many there could potentially be out there, but we're confident. Everyone's working together pretty well still.
That was
Is
the
the ultimate goal to completely eradicate the hornets in this continent, or just?
I missed the beginning of your question.
Is it, do you want to completely eradicate the hornets, or just
Yep,
keep
the
them under
goal.
control?
Yep, the goal is eradication. We don't want any of them present. We want negative results, for multiple years.
And you think that's a possibility? Is it something that is going to happen?
We are very hopeful.
If,
So we had no additional confirmed sightings following the last nest removal. So just hopefully, sometimes no news is good news, right?
if Canada can do it, USA also can do it. So Dr. Priscilla, Dr. Tracy, you guys have any questions? And Dr. John, anybody else?
I have none, but that was an excellent presentation. I would appreciate the final slide that had your contact information for your Department of Ag in Washington. Thank you.
And I had a question about the drone that you had found near a pop can. Is that what I heard? Did you say that there was no DNA that was recoverable from that drone that was found south of the rest of the sightings?
I don't recall if it was, so the drone south, the Hornet that was discovered right on the border of Canada. So Canada had one sighting this year, right? The first nest we removed, it was found right above that, right on the border. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, the one from Marysville? Yeah, so they did do a DNA sequencing and analysis from it, and it was shown to be a separate introduction from the Hornets in Whatcom County.
Okay, and since I'm not from that area, how far was that found from the original?
About an hour and a half south. And it was prime, pristine condition, found in the spring. So what has been kind of talked about is potentially it was fell out of something that was being opened or unboxed. Nothing else was found or reported in the area.
That's what we're hoping for, right?
I'm over impressed. You did an excellent job on your presentation. You're well versed. It was very knowledgeable. And I know our group really enjoyed it. Anybody else want to say thank you? Oh, we got too many shy people.
All righty. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for letting me take your time today. I told Sven I would say hi because I know he's from Pennsylvania. But other than that, have a good rest of your evening.
Same with you. What's your time there now?
It's actually only 4:30.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing good.
Yeah, you get no overtime today. Again, thank you so much. You were excellent in your presentation. If we can give you 5 stars, we will on any kind of evaluation. And I'm sure everybody would concur with me. Thank you very much again. Maybe next year we'll get you back. I'd love to get another update, Cassie. So thank you again.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Cassie.
Thank you.
Casey.
Here. Well, we have one time we have the 7 people. We have a chat line. Was there any questions on here? Okay. This will be posted up. We'll get the some of the sites again posted up on our Google board, and this will be recorded and for people who were unable to join in with us. So we have where's our guy from New York there? Is he here, Fred? Your friend?
Yeah, it's Bill. He's got his microphone muted.
Oh, okay. Hey, Bill, do you have any comments since you were trying to get some ideas? He's going back.
Bill, you have to unmute your microphone.
Oh, I was pushing the space bar. I guess that didn't work.
Any takeaways?
No, I'm going to post a couple things that she presented it on my webpage, but otherwise I was looking at your website. It looks good.
Okay. So I had a question I didn't ask her. I wanted to know what the name of her dog in the background. It showed up a few times there. Yeah, thank you for everybody else who's contributing. Any other comments before we move on to the meeting? I see we have somebody from Maryland. Fred, do you know this young man? Rob?
Rob, there is Rob from Low Rob Bees. He's the inventor of that competition for the ProVap 110.
Oh.
So he makes that.
Excellent, excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got it right there. Laura Bees.
I'm gonna pull a
LLC.
Fred here and just pull it from my magic desk,
There,
as he does in all of his videos.
Rob, do you have
Yeah,
any comments from about the presentation at all?
I think it was wonderful. I learned a lot. I guess I really have never dug into it quite that far. I know they're kind of a East Coast thing, and there's a lot of great people who are working on them. But I really hadn't dug into it that far, so it's really neat to see all the research and time that's been dedicated to try and get that resolved. It's pretty fascinating.
I think there's states definitely putting some money into it to keep on top of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, big time.
Any other comments before we move on here? I
have one, Ken.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, this is Paula from New Jersey. I want to thank Fred first for inviting me. That was great. I was just wondering what the beekeepers are doing besides possibly reducing their entrances in the state. Does anybody know? Because I didn't ask her that. She signed off before I thought of it.
I think they are. That's one of the big things is reducing the entrance because I don't think they can get in. They're too big to get in. But don't they wait on the outside and kind of ambush them too? I don't know.
I can answer that.
Maybe we need to get a hold of a bee association out there and get somebody out there to talk to us on how they take care of that.
There you go.
Well, they can't get through a 3/8 inch entrance, and they do move in and occupy the hive when they kill off the bees, and they bivouac in there and they take it over and use the resources while they continue to hunt. So I don't think she reported, I don't know if reports of bee apiaries being raided yet by them. If anybody else knows about that. We asked the question of Sven when he gave his presentation. And I think there had been like one colony that was raided, but they have a habit of moving in, taking over the colony. So we know that a 3/8 inch opening, their big old head can't fit through it.
That's a good deterrent there. Isn't it true they could take over or decapitate a colony in like 2 hours or something? Unbelievable quick time. They could just totally take over a colony.